Welcome to the History Vault. Some doors were never meant to be opened. A great city, 5,000 years old, and seemingly, no war. 5,000 years ago, while workers in Egypt were hauling stone for the first great pyramids, another people were raising pyramids of their own. Not in the Nile Valley, but on the far side of the planet, in a dry river valley near the coast of what is now Peru. They built 6 massive platform mounds, a sunken stone amphitheater, plazas, and homes for thousands. And then, for nearly 4,000 years, the world forgot they ever existed. The site sat in plain view the whole time. To the untrained eye it looked like a cluster of natural hills, just rolling brown shapes baking in the desert. It took a Peruvian archaeologist named Ruth Shady to look at those hills in the 1990s and realize they were not hills at all. They were buildings. Radiocarbon dating of woven reed bags found inside the construction returned a date of roughly 206–27 BC. The reaction was disbelief. This place, called Caral, was as old as the pyramids of Giza. And it was the oldest known city in all of the Americas. But the strangest thing about Caral is not its age. It is what the archaeologists did not find. No walls built for defense. No weapons. No bodies broken by battle. A great city, and seemingly, no war. Caral sits in the Supe Valley, a thin green ribbon of farmland cutting through one of the driest coastal deserts on Earth, a little inland from the Pacific. It is the centerpiece of a wider culture archaeologists call Caral-Supe, or the Norte Chico civilization, a network of around 20 settlements spread across neighboring valleys. The city itself was monumental. Its largest pyramid, the Piramide Mayor, rises about 18 meters and stretches well over 100 meters along its base. These were not tombs like the Egyptian pyramids. They were platform mounds, stages for ceremony and authority, climbed by grand staircases to temples at the summit. In front of the main pyramid lies a feature that still feels powerful to stand inside today, a great sunken circular plaza, a round amphitheater dug into the ground where the community could gather. Now, here is where Caral breaks the rules we usually attach to the word civilization. These people had no pottery. None. They cooked and carried, and stored without ceramic vessels, which is why their era is called the Late Preceramic. And as far as we can tell, they had no writing. But they may have had something close. At Caral, archaeologists recovered what appears to be a quipu, an arrangement of knotted strings used to record information. If the identification holds, and researchers are careful to say it still needs full evaluation, it would be the oldest quipu ever found, a knot language ancestor of the system the Inca would use thousands of years later. A city with no pots and no script, keeping its records in knots. The Caral people did not only look at the ground, they watched the sky. In 2026, Peru's Ministry of Culture announced a discovery at Aspero, a coastal fishing settlement tied to the same civilization, sitting where the Supe Valley meets the sea. Among its structures, a research team led once again by Ruth Shady identified what they interpret as an early astronomical observatory, possibly the oldest in the Americas. It consists of circular stone platforms, and crucially, certain walls and sightlines appear to align with the movements of the sun, especially around the solstices. Think about what that alignment would have meant to them. This was a society living between 2 clocks. One was the farming calendar inland, the planting and harvest of cotton and food crops. The other was the rhythm of the sea, the seasons of the fish. An observatory that could mark the turning points of the solar year was not idle stargazing. It was a tool for survival, a way to anticipate the seasons, time the harvest, and plan when to fish. They tied the sky to the soil and the sea, and they built that connection in stone. And now we return to the absence at the heart of Caral, the thing that is not there. Across the excavated sites of this civilization, archaeologists have found no fortifications, no defensive walls, no weapons of war. No projectile points, no clubs, no shields. Among the human remains recovered, there are no skeletons bearing the wounds of organized combat. And in their art, carved into gourds and worked into textiles, there are no scenes of battle, no warriors, no captives, no conquered enemies being humiliated. For a culture that lasted centuries and grew genuinely large, that is extraordinary. Here we have to be honest about the line between fact and interpretation. The fact is the absence of evidence for warfare. The interpretation is what that absence means. Archaeologists cannot yet prove these people lived in perfect peace. An absence of evidence is not always proof. But the pattern across so many sites is striking enough that researchers take it seriously as a real feature of this society, not just a gap in the digging. So what held it together, if not the threat of force? The leading ideas point to two binding agents. One is religion, a shared set of beliefs and ceremonies performed on those great pyramids, and in that sunken plaza, that gave people a common identity and a reason to cooperate. The other is trade, an economy so interconnected that conflict may simply have cost more than it was worth. Belief and exchange, instead of swords. That trade economy is one of the most elegant things about Caral, and it turns on a crop you might not expect. Cotton. The people of the Supe Valley were skilled cotton farmers. But they did not grow it mainly to wear. They grew it to fish. Cotton was spun into thread and woven into nets, and those nets were the engine of the coast. Out at settlements like Aspero, fishing communities used them to haul in enormous catches of small fish, anchovies and sardines, from the rich Pacific waters. So a relationship formed between the highland farms and the seashore. The inland growers traded their cotton to the coastal fishers, and in return the coast sent back dried fish, a dense and storable source of protein. Each side made the other possible. The farmers fed the fishers, and the fishers fed the farmers, woven together by a single plant. From this base, the trade network reached further still, with goods moving between the coast, the valleys, and toward the Amazon beyond. It was an economy built on connection rather than conquest, a web of exchange holding a civilization in place, without an army to enforce it. If Caral rose without war, it did not fall to one either. After roughly 5 centuries of life, sometime around 1800 BC, the great city was abandoned. We do not know with certainty why, and the honest answer is that the question is still open. But the strongest candidate is the climate. This stretch of coast is brutally sensitive to a force we now call El Niño, the periodic warming of the Pacific that can flip weather patterns into extremes, drought in some seasons and destructive flooding in others. The evidence points towards severe environmental stress, with drought widely thought to be the primary driver pushing people to migrate away in search of more reliable land and water. The fish, the farms, the careful calendar tying sky to harvest, all of it depended on a balance, and when that balance broke, the system that had no army to defend it also had no way to force the desert to bloom. What Caral leaves behind is a quiet challenge to one of our oldest assumptions. We often tell the story of civilization as a story of warfare, of cities rising behind walls because someone had to be kept out, of kings empowered by conquest. Caral suggests it did not have to begin that way. Here, monumental society, astronomy, planned cities, and a complex economy all appear to have emerged first, and apparently without war as their foundation. Peace, or at least the absence of organized violence, may not have been civilization's reward. At Caral, it may have been the starting condition. Caral matters because it widens what we thought was possible. It shows that the human story has more than one opening chapter. That people built pyramids and read the solstice and ran an economy stretching from the ocean to the mountains. And did it, as far as we can tell, without raising a single weapon against each other. For 4,000 years, the desert kept that secret, disguised as a row of ordinary hills. And the most haunting question Caral asks is not how a city with no weapons could survive so long. It is why, of all the civilizations that came after, so few ever tried it again. Some mysteries we may never solve. Subscribe to the History Vault, and we will open the next door together.